Hello, good afternoon, and welcome to another session on breaking through the Scrum Master job in 2024. So, if you have been following us for the past 3 days, we have been talking about what you need in order to break through the Scrum Master job in 2024. Now, most often you realize that I've paid really close attention on how you could articulate different concept or different subject in Scrum. And today we want to focus on what are matrices and how can you articulate different metrics, performance metrics. I think on the first day I said, as a Scrum Master, your evaluation is based on how your team is performing. How do you measure your team performance? By using metrics, right? So we are going to look at different matrices today, and then we are also going to create room to take your questions. But the bigger goal on how to break through on the Scrum Master job, number one, is to actually understand that you need more than just answering questions from the surface point of view. You need to be able to understand exactly what are the key, what is like the main key points when it comes to the in-depth, the concept itself. So today we'll talk about metrics. All right, so let me know where you're connecting from so that I can give you a shout out. It's going to be a very deep presentation. I'll be sharing my screen so that you can follow along. But I want to know where you're connecting from so that I can go ahead and give you a shout out. And if you know someone that could actually benefit from what we are going to share today, it's a very important concept in Agile and in Scrum. Please feel free to reach out to them and by just sharing, and we are going to take it from there. I see Sherry from Illinois. I see Germany in the building. I see John Patrick from Atlanta. I see Carol. Welcome, and everybody that's joining in, welcome. If you could click the share button, let's make this interactive. Let's make it, and trust me, if going through something, you have a question, put the question on the chat box. I'm going to go through this faster so that we create time, more time at the end of the presentation to actually go through what we are doing. So let's see what happens today. I think I probably might need to make myself more smaller so that we do more of the presentation and less of me. Now, I want us to focus on practicing understanding matrices. Why are matrices very important? And now, where do we actually get the matrices? If you're used to familiar with Jira, we're going to use Jira as our yardstick because if you can navigate any of the work management tool, Jira, Azure DevOps, Rally, Monday, they all have like almost the same functionality. The interface might be different. So when you look at common agile report, you will realize that most often we have the bend down chart right here. We have the bend up chart. We have the spring report, and then we have the velocity. We have the cumulative chart, and sometimes we might have the release bend down chart. So these are like the whole different type of um, uh, common agile report. Now, why are report very important? They actually collect data on how your team is performing, and then you can use that data and then understand how to help your team do more better. Now, before I go into discussing the different report and how they can be useful for you as a Scrum Master, as an Agile coach in helping your team, you must understand that the first aspect for you helping your team has nothing to do with report. It has to do with your own emotional intelligence. Your own emotional intelligence. When I talk about emotional intelligence, what exactly I mean by that is your ability to be able to observe by interacting with your team what is happening, what's their behavior, and also to be able to observe what is happening up on your board. And from there, you can make judgment, right? That the highest form of help that you can give to somebody is understanding the person. Right, it's understanding the person. If the only help you can give is that if I don't see a report, I cannot give any help, then you definitely still need to practice more of coaching. But then report only add to what we observe. So by just looking at report, we cannot validate. Now let's go to our different type of report. The first type of report you will normally come across is what we call the spring report. The spring report is a summary of the burn down chart, and it gives you also all the stories that were completed, all the stories that were completed and stories that were not completed. So it's going to give you a statue of what happened during the spring. If you completed two stories, it will tell you two stories were completed. If two stories were rolled over and they were in progress, it's going to tell you two stories were rolled over and in progress. So the first report, immediately you close your spring, you come across your spring report. So your spring report gives you a snapshot of what happened during the spring. And then the next report we're going to talk about is called the burn down chart. Right. Now, the burn down chart is a very powerful report. And I actually choose this picture because it gives us more of an explanation of what is happening. Now, if you look, if I start to my top left, where you have the chart starting from up and bending right down. Now, what you will realize is that we started somewhere with 48 story points in the spring, right? And then at the end of the spring, we actually completed all the work because the chart actually bent down to the bottom line. If for any reason this chart was hanging somewhere in the middle, it's an indication that the work wasn't completed, right? Now, you have what? We have the y-axis and the x-axis. The y-axis talk about the number of story points. It give our velocity, what we actually completed, and then the x-axis give us the number of days, right? And then we also have, if you can see the gray line that goes below, it's called the ID line, which kind of gives you an estimation of what is happening. It's more like a measure, a standard. We expect a spring to go through this gray line, but then you realize the reality stay above in the red line, right? So if something stay here, we can say, okay, this team is good. When we're looking at performance bandwidth, we're looking something between 80% and 100%. We don't expect the team to be 100%. If a team is 100% really performant, it means that there is something that they are missing. So, and you realize on the bend down chart, at certain point, you see where there are slope, it goes down, it stay on the level line, it goes down, it stay on a level, it goes down. What's that happening? The length at which a line is straight, which means it doesn't go down, it tells you that actually no work was completed during this period. When any piece of work is completed, the chart burn down. That's why it's called the burn down chart. On the other hand, we have the burn up chart. Most teams frequently don't use the burn up chart, but then the burn up chart kind of try to forecast how we are going to complete the work. Now, if you see what is happening right here, we have our red line, and then we have a gray line, and we have a green line. If you look at now our menu up here, the red line gives us the work scope, the broken line, which is kind of uh, after the red solid line, give us what? The scope projection. And then we have now the green line, give us what? Give us the work that has been completed. So you realize this gives us an idea of work that has been completed, right? And in relation to the work that is need to be completed. So the burn up chart focus more on how we are moving towards the goal, right? Focus more on how close are we to the goal. The burn down chart focus on what work is completed, what is remaining. That's the difference between the two, but both of them give out the same result. Now we look at the velocity chart. The velocity chart is very important, most especially in communicating with the stakeholder. The bend down chart and the velocity chart is more for the interest, or it's more on the need of the Scrum Master or the Agile lead. It helps you to see how your team is performing. If I can go a step back, It shows you if your team is pulling work to the end of the spring or early of the spring, and it helps you kind of focus on point that will help your team do much better. Now, the velocity chart shows you two lines. One is a gray and the other is a green. The green is estimated, is work that is completed, while the gray is what we commit to. So if you're working with a stakeholder, which is what they want to see, they want to see what you committed to and what you completed the work. Most often, if you take interviews or if you're joining teams, you realize they will tell you, oh, our velocity is bad. We need someone to come fix the velocity. This is what they're talking about. But then all the numbers are not just about the green and the gray, right? It's beyond that. You realize that looking at this chart, you can see very low moments, you can see very high moments. And this is also the reason why we always say that you cannot use the velocity alone to dictate if a team is performing or not. If not, what is happening on the, let's say, number one, two, three, four, five, six, right? Number four, five, six bars, you realize that they commit to a very little work. So what's happening? There must be something wrong. A team cannot just move from completing really high amount of work up to about 24 story point, and the next sprint they go down to just about three, four, or five. There is something wrong. So this chart more or less gives you an guidance to ask questions and work with your team member, and you can understand exactly what is going wrong. Now, one of the hardest chart to read, and it's also very simple to read. It's an ambiguous chart, right? It's an ironic chart. It's hard to read, but also very easy to read. When you understand how to read it, it's going to be so much easy for you. It's called the cumulative flow diagram. So the cumulative flow diagram is not mostly used within the Scrum environment, but if you work with a Kanban team, you're going to come across the cumulative flow diagram as frequent as possible. And also, if you work at the portfolio level, at the program level, as an ROTE or as an agile coach or as a project manager, agile project manager within a Scrum space, you will interact with the cumulative flow diagram. Now, you might be asking me the question, where do I find the cumulative flow diagram? The cumulative flow diagram is always part of your reporting, even if you work in an agile or Scrum environment. Most often, it's just that it's not activated, right? It's just that it's not activated. So, a couple of stuff for us to pay attention to is number one is the lead time. The lead time simply means that when we get a piece of work from our backlog, what is the time it takes from where it's sitting in our backlog to when we actually complete it? Right. Now, when you get any chart, the first thing you want to try to do is try to read the legend. You see here, blue, is it green say that is done, yellow means it's in progress. We have blue here to do, and we have purple here means backlog. So if I draw a line from an item and right straight across to when it meets the backlog or to when it meets the done column, and I draw a line straight right down, it's going to tell me how long it takes to complete a chart when it gets to the backlog. On the other side, the cycle time simply means when the work go to in progress and when we complete it. Which simply means that when someone commit to the work and say, "Oh, I need to complete this work," right at that point to when it's completed. I'll just give you an example. I might ask you to say, "Okay, please, I need your help. I need you to write me a recommendation letter," right? I make the request on Monday, right? But then you don't have time to work on it until today, Thursday. And then when you start working on it, you finish within the next 1 hour and you submit to me. Now, the lead time will be 4 days: Monday, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. But the second time is the time you start working on it to when you complete. The second time is just 1 hour, which is 1 hour you work on it. How does the lead time and the second time help us as a Scrum team or help the company? Now, it helps us to identify bottlenecks, right? Imagine you receive something on Monday, and the time you need to work on that stuff is 1 hour, and then you deliver after 4 days. It means that the wait time is been more than close to 100 hours. So when you are working at a higher level of project coaching, of project management, agile coach, or up there, your goal is to be able to evaluate this lead time and find out what is making us keep this stuff for up to 4 days. Is it because we don't have enough capacity to pull through the work? Is it because there are a lot of protocols that need to be validated, or somebody need to look through that? When you identify that bottleneck, you can be able to get it. The work in progress, which is the weight limit, simply means that the amount of work we are working on at any given particular time, right? And definitely the backlog simply means that all what we have in our to-do list column and what we have in our backlog column. Now, what you also want to uh, master as well, which is this is another different type of um, cumulative flow diagram that shows you the backlog, that shows you work that is in progress, verification. So it mustn't really have the reason I put both. It mustn't really have like backlog to do in progress and done based on the configuration of your company. It might have different stuff. Right. But we also we by looking at the cumulative flow diagram, there are also a couple of things or certain things that we can be able to read in order to see if we are doing well or not. But that is a conversation for another day. Right. So if we could go a bit further to explain also another diagram that shows us a cumulative flow diagram, you realize that here the artwork in dev work in testing, completed work, the artwork in analysis. So the cumulative flow diagram capture work based on your definition of done. Your definition of done are the processes or the different stages on how you structure work within your environment in order to ensure that the work is done. So the cumulative flow diagram more or less capture everything that is going on in one diagram, and we are able to see a bigger picture, right? It's different from a burn down chart. A burn down chart simply just capture what? Simply just capture what we have happening with the work that's been completed. Velocity chart only tells you work complete, work committed versus work completed. So a cumulative flow diagram is more encompassing. But then, as we say, given that with Scrum we are more flexible, we most often don't focus on this. With a Kanban program, where we don't have the velocity and the bend down chart because we're building in a flow, we most often will rely on our cumulative flow diagram. Okay, perfect. So that was it for today. Tomorrow, which is going to be the same time, I have 10 minutes to start taking questions. So if you have any question, start dropping them now, and we can now have a conversation on the topic. Tomorrow, we're going to talk about release planning. So tomorrow, I will now focus on release planning, and I will talk about the role of a Scrum Master in release planning. So that was a breathtaking presentation, and I hope you actually caught something there, right? And now, if this is how you evaluate yourself, this is how presentation like this can help you do more or can help you advance in your work as a Scrum Master or in your job search. Whenever we have a presentation like this, the goal is not to motivate you, right? The goal is to be able to showcase you what you need, the gap that you need to fill. So if you kind of follow a presentation like this and you realize, oh, I cannot even follow up to 50% of what it's saying, it's an self-evaluation for you, and it gives you an indication of what is missing. Right. And lately, I think the two things which I've been saying, I said, okay, for those who are following this program, number one, I'm giving you um my ebook for free. For those who like hard copies, you can get that on Amazon. It's a very concise writing on what are the three different steps that you need in order to learn a Scrum Master job. Right, so you can get that. I'll share a link here. You can download that. But please feel free to drop your question. Your question might be out of what I kind of just presented. It's still okay. Any question that you have in relation to Scrum, in relation to Agile, in relation to business analysis, in relation to project management, feel free to drop that in. right now, and let's look at how we can both answer it. If I cannot answer it, definitely, I'm very sure that there will be someone in the panel who is listening who should be able to answer that question. On the meantime, I just share the link for those who are needing to get the ebook. You can be able to get that ebook from um, online. Now, the second stuff which we're going to do also, for those who, if you feel like, you know what, I'm lost in the entire process of Agile or Scrum, or I need help, and you want to book a free consultation with me, now I'm also going to share a link on how to get to that conversation. Now, it comes with a couple of questions you need to answer. And a couple of questions is just for me to be able to prepare so that by the time I get you on a call, I know exactly how to help you. But then if you don't fill these questionnaires, you probably will not be able to schedule an appointment, right? The reason we're doing that is because sometimes I've had open free appointment, and people will just come and waste my time. Sorry to say this, but that's right. You cannot have a 30-minute appointment and you block space, and then you get there, it's like, oh, I don't really have so much to say. I just wanted to see if I can have one or two advice from you. No, it doesn't make sense, right? So in that case, if you really need to, in order not to prevent those who really need it, now that's why we actually build a question. I want to know what are the key points that you want us to talk about, and then I'll be able to confirm that appointment. It's free, you're not paying any stuff, right? But for if you need it, if you don't need it, please don't book it, because we actually block time for that. All right, there's a question from let me see who is sending in that question. There's a question from BB. And the question say how to improve Kanban team performance. All right. So how do we improve Kanban team performance? Oh, there was another question before there. Let me go chronologically. Okay, the couple of questions I actually missed. All right, I'll come back to your question. Let me go chronologically. Um, the first question says, how does a Scrum Master fit in an investment banking and financial environment? Oh, this is very simple. We have a lot. I think the financial industry and investment are the most people hiring Scrum Masters. The first thing for you to understand how a Scrum Master fit in any environment is for you to understand what is the role of a Scrum Master. A Scrum Master doesn't work for the company. It's not like you're a Scrum Master and you're helping almost everybody. No, a Scrum Master is a dedicated position, and you are focused in helping a team that is completing a piece of work, be it software, be it infrastructure, be it data team. So, in a summary, a Scrum Master help a team that is focused on building and delivering a business value. As a Scrum Master, you can also have multiple teams, right? But Scrum teams are a group of individuals, including product owners, Scrum Master, and developers, and they are building a solution, or they are building a business value or an increment that contribute to the overall business value. So if you master that, you should be able to answer that question on how a Scrum Master fit in any environment. The one is, what will the Scrum Master be working on? So it's about understanding the role of a Scrum Master. Um, Next question: how is the job market now? When are the companies start getting aggressive as okay? Now hiring is throughout the year, right? There might be a period where you have like really high demand, and this might be because, let's say, if we say um the government of, not, let's say, the Department of Health or the Department of Health in Texas open up to start using Agile, they might launch about 200 Scrum Master job, right? So it's when they decide. So when that happen, what happened? You have openings everywhere. There is intake in the market. So there is definitely no peak period. Now, sometime peak period might be close to the start of the year, up to the first quarter, and also the last quarter of the year, because those are period where many companies are ending their calendar cycle, onboarding new project, but uh, their enrollment throughout the year. Why? Because somebody might quit, a new project might come in, so throughout the year you probably will get a job. The reason why most often people feel like there's a peak period that might not get them, some of the reason is because you might have like a weak resume that only get called after they don't find anyone better than you. So sometimes it might be that reason you might not have a competitive resume. Now, the next question is how to improve Kanban team performance. Now, Kanban team performance, there are a couple of things you pay attention to. Number one is the SLA, the service level agreement. Now, the service level agreement in Kanban simply means that the stakeholder have agreed that every piece of work will take us about 2 weeks or 3 weeks to get completed. Now, you use the SLA to set the due date. If a team member is working on something, you as the Kanban lead, you already set the due date based on the service level agreement. Right. Now, if you now have items that are going past due date, it gives you an idea that something is not working. Right. Now, in that case, you start looking at now regulating work in progress, and which is a WIP limit. You start looking at how to regulate work in progress and all of that. So that those are the ways that could actually help you improve Kanban team. Now you can also look at the throughput. The throughput can be based on the circle you want to use to pull out your throughput, which you can use your dashboard to pull out that data. What is the amount of work they're completing every 2 weeks, right? And for you to actually have an effective throughput, you also need to ensure that the team is having more or less relative sizing, making sure that there's no so much discrepancy in the way the size work. But the baseline for helping a Kanban team improve is focusing on the service level agreement and then using that to see how we can use work in progress limit, how we can use throughput, cycle time, and lead time to help them grow. All right. The next question says that what metrics are helpful in determining Scrum Spring performance uh, and how situation do you use this? In what situation do you use the spring report? What metrics are helpful in determining spring performance? Now, the spring performance, you actually look at the bend down chart. Now, bend down chart performance simply means how well do we do, right? Bend down chart will give you not only how work is being completed, but it also show you are we pulling work to the end of the sprint, right? Let's say we have a straight line to the last day, everything is closed on the last day. We might finish everything, but that's kind of a big gap in our performance, right? In that case, we have a challenge to fix. So the bend down chart, the velocity chart is more of a summary at the end, right? And all of them are helpful. So all of the bend down chart and the velocity chart most often are the most important. The spring report is also very important. One of the things you can do as a scrum master in order to improve or to have visibility and track the progress of your team is always to get that summary spring report and document that on Confluence so that you can have now a progressive up to date on how the team is doing. Right. Most often when we close a sprint, except you go and query it and pull it back, you might not come across it again. But if you document the progress and how it is happening in on your Jira board, you can always on your conference board, you can always go back and look at it. Yes. So the spring report, you can use it anytime. T. All right, Francois, you can go ahead and schedule an appointment. For anyone, if you don't want to go through the wrong routes, for those who are watching, let me give you a simple trick to reach out. Now, a simple trick to reach out is you can send me a text message. Don't call, please. Send me a text message or a WhatsApp message. That's my number there. If you send me a text message, I'm interested in a 30-minute free call and I might be able to get you if I have space. So you can also do that. The first route is go through there and fill in what you need. The second route is send me a text message. I'm interested there, and then I will look at how to easily get you in. Now, let me look at other questions we have on the board. So, the next question says that would you also say the amount of whip will also help in the performance of a Kanban team? All right. Yes, we must be able to understand what is the whip limit that help the team to become performant. I'll give you an example why whip limit is important. Consider yourself going to your workplace at the rush hour, let's say 8, 9, and then returning at uh, 4, 5 rush hours, right? This obviously takes you about double the time if you leave earlier. Let's say if you leave at 5 a.m. If you leave at 5 a.m., for instance, it's going to take you about 30 minutes to get there. Why? Because there are not too many cars in the road. So the cars on the road are called work in progress, right? If you leave at 8, the work in progress, there are too many cars in the road that cause traffic. The same thing, if I give you 5 things to be doing at the same time, that's work in progress. Versus you do one, you complete it, you go to the next, you complete it. What happened? You easily finish with lesser tasks at one compared to numerous tasks. Right. So work in progress is very important. So you need the reason why we put a work in progress limit is like you have a street light, you have like yeah, the traffic light, where when cars are moving, you used to control. If the traffic lights are not there, a lot of casualty, a lot of conflict, a lot of conflict, or a lot of impediments are going to happen. So you can use work in progress to also help with performance. All right, perfect. For anyone who texts me, I'm going to reach out to you and obviously send you a quicker link on how to go through the message. But then I think it was an exciting journey today. Tomorrow, let's meet the same time and let's talk about release planning and the role of a scrum master in release planning. That's one of the, I think, skeptical topic a lot of people don't want to talk about, but it's also a very simple topic. Now, what you want to do is sometimes just go back and take note on most of this stuff. They're definitely going to help you improve the way you communicate and the way to collaborate. And for people, if you're in the job market and you're finding it difficult to get a job, or you need help, or you need to belong in a community of other like-minded people who are in the process, don't hesitate to reach out. We have an amazing community that can help you, not pamper you, can help you if you need help. But if you need someone that when you want something, you call them and you need an immediate solution, then please don't reach out. We're looking for those who rate help, that those who want to be empowered to do what we are doing. All right. It's always great having this conversation with you. And it's been a big challenge this week, right? From Monday through Friday, we're having sessions every day. Next week, we're only going to have 2 sessions, Monday and Friday. But then I'll see you on the other side. Do have the great rest of your day. For our friends watching us from UK and Europe. And we say, have a great evening.